Hello and welcome. You are at the Watson Weekend. If you've found yourself to the right place, your weekly dose of e-commerce entertainment. I'm your host, Rick Watson.
And it's Jessica Laseski.
Awesome. I mean, this is just your weekly dose of medicine with just enough sugar to make it go down easy. We're going to talk about your latest news in retail, technology, e-commerce, and do the best job we can.
We can. We said last time, we are not professionals, we're not journalists, but we are getting scooped, and we're going to talk about that later today. So
Yeah.
we're getting
And
there slowly.
not only are we not professionals, I'm not sure that we're getting better.
I mean, I will say, like, my headline says school's in, germs out. Don't know about you guys, but my kids are back in school. The germs are here. So if I sound a little bit nasally, I'm not testing a new voice for my Watson Weekend persona here. It's all right here. It's been rough o'clock.
Yeah, I want to see your nasally voice for the next show. It's the Friday the 13th show. Of all the Halloween-ish horror movies, what's your favorite series or one?
I mean, so I'm not a Halloween gore person, to be honest. The horror movies give me nightmares like no other. I would whenever I was in high school, I would try to be cool and go to a scary movie, and then I'd come home and watch The Little Mermaid or something, like real easy on the eyes. So I'm a big Hocus Pocus fan. You can't
Hocus Pocus, can't go wrong with some witches.
You can't go wrong with some witches, little SJP. Got Bette Midler in the house.
Right.
It's just a classic.
That's all good. I have to go back to the Friday the 13th or the Nightmare on Elm Street. The original Freddy with the mask and
that was the one that
the glove that will freak some people out. And then Halloween, like just the like very simple dun, 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 like that
again makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. Like I just can't even go there. So
I love it. Give me more of that.
Yeah. Well, we want to talk about this week's show in thanks to our partners. It's brought to you in partnership with Maze, 3 times hide and seek champion, your friends in finding the right way. So thank you, Maze, for helping us bring this show and all of the things we're going to break down today to our viewers. So
yeah, and we're not even kidding when we say we love the folks at Maze Group. Vince, Santo, Nick Thompson, and the team there do a great job. And if you're looking for implementation, system integration, strategy help, they are there for you.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So you want to kick us off with some headline hangovers. What caught your eye this week?
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of headlines that caught our eyes this week. First of all, is there are a lot of chapters in the book, but for retail, the worst chapter you don't want to open is chapter 11. And Big Lots have recently filed for bankruptcy protection, citing stubborn inflation. Look, of course, they're going to say something outside of their control. Slow down in consumer spending and home goods, furniture, decor.
The landscape is crowded, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
Consumer spending down has nothing to do with their space in this landscape and downward competition, assortment, store locations.
So there's a private equity firm it's said that they're going to acquire Big Lots for $760 million. But don't worry. If you're worried, Jess, they have a 5-point plan.
I knew there was a plan. And there's probably a special project name too, right?
Yeah, it's called Project Springboard. And remember the movie Office Space? It's like the jump to conclusions mat. Like this is Project Springboard. So the springboard is really 5 simple points. 1, they want to own bargains.
Okay.
They're making great progress in bargains. Unfortunately, not as great a progress as Temu is.
No.
Wah, wah. Second is to communicate unmistakable value, because there's nothing that communicates unmistakable value better than a name like Big Lots.
Right. I mean,
lots of random stuff.
Big lots of cushions, big lots of patio furniture, big lots of. Did you also hear? I think they're expanding into some new categories as part of their 5-point plan.
Exactly. I mean, big lots of debt is what I see happening happening here. That's the issue. So they want to increase store relevance by putting food in the Big Lots. So lots of food that they're going to add. Unfortunately, like, is there going to be enough turnover to make sure the food isn't spoiled by the time you hit there? And then you have lots of spoiled food, which doesn't smell very well.
High preservative content keeps that shelf life long and strong.
Exactly. It's a big travel problem. Of course, omni-channel, they have to throw in the buzzword du jour. If they really wanted to do something better, they would have thrown in something a little bit more modern. Unified commerce is a new buzzword of art.
Maybe
FYI.
you need to send that to the
Suggestion
box.
You need a consultant, let me know. And also to drive productivity, because there's nothing that will reduce your debt load faster than in making unprofitable businesses more productive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Rick, they did bring in the Bobs to help. They referenced they had a partner, a consultant that came in to help them develop Project Springboard, which is supposed to drive 200 million in cost savings. Is that going to cut it for you?
Oh, we're going to talk about some companies that brought in Bob's later on when we get to Thrasio, but we're not quite there yet, Jess. They're like, way to dangle the bait out there. But unlike Mr.
No, it was
Trump,
too fun.
I'm not taking your bait.
Okay. So, look, people are trading down value. Like, why can't Big Lots make it work?
Big Lots can't make it work because consumers not buying. They're going to Walmart. It's more convenient. It's easier, better service. And if they really want something as cheap as hell, they're going to Temu. That seems to be the trend right now. And so Big Lots have lots of big things to work on.
Lots of big things to work on. Well, this transaction's supposed to close unless they get a better deal. That was also in the news, right? So
exactly.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully soon. Let's try the next story on for size.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that was such a great setup. I'm so jelly. Well, we are going to try something on because Google is taking on the reins of tackling the holy grail for improving the apparel shopping experience. Many have tried and failed, and this is Google's Indiana Jones moment. See what I did there? They want to bring this new technology to the forefront. So I think we want to show you guys because it's just too good of a story to keep. You got to have the visuals, right? So maybe if I can ask our producer Vinny to help me fire this up. We are actually sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Sorry about that. So let me just break it down for you, Rick. Google has had lots of different retail products that they've tried to bring to the forefront. Fit is one of the things that we're trying to tackle. And in this Fit story, they have two things. One is they basically combed the database of all of these different models and expanded it out. So, not just like one model that's extra small. There's maybe 10 models. Same thing, small, medium, large, etc. They've partnered with Everlane, Anthropologie, and Tops. Just one category, Tops, is where you can go. So if you go to Google Shopping, type in Everlane Top, this is like the place where you can kind of start to see and feel it. So here we go. So yeah, if you just scroll down a little bit for me, Vinny. This is the technology. This is the groundbreaking AI machine at work, which is going to show you just basically select the model and you can see how the top looks on her. And the whole spirit of this is like not just how it fits, but the draping and where it hits you. And really just tackle that conundrum that it's like, how's this going to look on me?
This is like the Benjamin
returns.
Button of Ozempic ads.
Yeah. So, I mean, it in theory, I guess this is kind of interesting, but I don't know, not passing the sniff test. So let me just kind of take you to the next demo. So the next demo is I like this top, but I might want it cheaper or I might want it in a different color. And so I can use these filters and facets that Google has to just kind of look what I want. I want it in this price point or in this color. I mean, isn't this just what Google Shopping does already? Like, what's groundbreaking here?
Off the shoulder is a hot trend right now. I got to give it up to this ad.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, and it would look great on you. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your take. Like, what are you thinking
look,
here?
I think creative services is a big challenge for a lot of brands. And so any kind of virtual AI try on, if it's going to work, is the question. I think the question is to find, is there any issues with the technology? Is it actually going to work? For years, companies have used like vendors like TrueFit
Yeah.
to like find some kind of a universal size. Like,
Right.
are you a small in Gap jeans or whatever? And so as a
Yeah.
result, on this other one, you'll get there. So I think that's kind of the issue, is like, will the fit work when the consumer gets it?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, I think that there are other things that are uh compelling that they could pull from, like reviews data. Does this trend to run small, run large? So it's
Right.
kind of interesting. I mean, I get it, like Google wanting to tackle it. I just don't know if this is the swing and the score that they were looking for. And to top it all off, if you guys do go and try it out, my favorite is the small print that says fit may not be accurate after you
Oh,
use it. So, I mean, I thought that was the problem we were looking to solve, but hey.
inaccurate fits. Go to Google. That's the message here.
All right, what you got next?
What we have next is Thrasio. They are declaring bankruptcy, and there seems to be a bit of a cat fight between investors. And so Oak Tree Capital Management, who has provided a lot of the debt for the last financing round, has written a letter to other private equity owners, in particular Silver Lake and Advent, criticizing them. You ever seen these movies like, and if you don't like what I say, I will send you a sternly worded letter
Yes.
telling you how upset I am. And that seems to
Yes.
be what's happened this week.
Or it's
Um,
like in The Office, where Jim's like, "Oh, that sounds pretty serious" to Dwight, and he's like, What's the ramp?" He's like, "You get a demerit." What's the case? What happens if I get
exactly.
more than one demerit? 5 demerits.
Right.
Then you go to
Ex-
the board.
exactly. So all three of these firms, Silver Lake, Advent, and Oak Tree, all backed Thrasio in some way. So just to kind of rewind the clock a little bit, going back to 2020, Advent put $260 million in a Series C for Thrasio. The company has raised overall like over $2 billion and it's supposed to be worth like some hundreds of billions of dollars, buying all these, more or less worthless companies, combining them all together, and then spending a lot of investor money. That seems to be what happened. There might be some nuance left in the discussion. In 2021, they brought in new investors. In particular, Oak Tree provided a $650 million debt facility. And
Oh,
I'm assuming to finance Google ads and inventory purchases, which is,
sure.
why not add more debt to the pile?
Yeah.
Advent, a month later, added a billion, participated in $1 billion round in October 2021. And so when earlier this year, when Thrasio emerged from bankruptcy, the CEO said the company had a clean balance sheet. Everything was fresh and sparkling. No debt on me.
This house is
Uh,
clear.
yeah, this house is clear.
Right.
Yeah. Um, and so all of these issues, however, have come back to the surface. S&P Global has issued a new report saying the company's capital structure is completely unsustainable. Of course, this
Mhm.
completely blindsided all the investors.
Who would have
What?
thought?
Yeah. Who would have thought that a CEO named Cashman would run off and spend all the cash?
I mean, also, we just haven't gone back to they didn't fix the actual problems, which were the business model itself, right? They have all of
Exactly.
this operating overhead that was designed to try to scale the
Right.
brands, but not all brands could scale in the same way. So they just, why would they think that this would work?
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, if you're losing 30% of net operating margin, the investors thought, well, if we could save 10% by putting them all on the same QuickBooks,
Hmm.
then everything's going to be great. Like,
Hmm.
unfortunately, they forget about the rest of the 20% that the companies are all still losing money. And so if you have 200 companies that you acquire, whatever the number was, then ultimately what you have is 200 different inventory systems, 200
Right.
different accounting systems, all these things. And so Chad and my friend Chandan Majan, House of Brands, House of Cards. Very good point here. I think I prefer the latter, House of Cards.
Yes.
No one's
Yes.
died yet, unlike House of Cards, where he killed that girl, journalist.
There were several accidental deaths
Accidental
in
deaths.
House of Cards.
Exactly.
So, is this the last of the saga? I mean, I feel like at some point is HBO, Showtime, or Showmax. Wait, which are we at?
Yeah.
HBO
I think
Max.
it's Max. It's Max.
Max. I mean, this deserves at least a Lifetime or a Paramount Plus
I agree.
series.
WeWork got a
We work
Hulu
at Apple
special.
TV. Apple TV.
And then Theranos got Hulu and I think one,
Yeah,
and then
and
like
Theranos got Hulu, and
there was another one too. A whole
Travis
podcast.
Uber got HBO Max. So
Yeah, Uber got HBO. Travis, not Travis Hess at Big Commerce.
no,
Travis, the
no.
other Travis from
Travis
Uber.
K.
Yeah, Travis with a K.
Who's off to building cloud kitchens now. That's a whole other thing.
Exactly. Yeah,
All
TK, not
right.
TH.
Exactly.
So anyway, Oaktree is convinced that their trust in Advent and Silverwick was misplaced. And so that's the update on the saga for Thrasio. More to come.
Yeah. It is drama city over there. And I think the things, it's like as the world turns, it will keep turning around. This is not the end of the story. So this is what I was saying, Rick, about us being scooped. You have been hearing us talk all year about the trade down in the consumer happiness segment index. We talked about the economy. We talked about what's happening in retail. But the rest of the journalistic world has just caught up following McKinsey's latest survey. There was this Business Insider article that kicked off that said America's wild multi-year shopping spree has come to an end, and retailers who got used to Americans dropping cash on just about everything are in a tough spot.
Ooh.
Yeah,
really?
That was dated this week, PS.
McKinsey.
Yes. So McKinsey said, look, 76% of consumers said they're going to trade down in the next quarter. This spells trouble for the weakest retailers. Some other hard-hitting facts. 40% of consumers are going to pare back spending on accessories, home decor, jewelry, furniture, Big Lots. I mean,
Big Lots.
Big Lots, yeah. And Ted Rossman, a senior analyst at Bankrate, said consumers are flashing signs that they're way more eager to bargain hunt and more picky on what they splurge.
Yes.
So
obvious man speaks.
Yes. This is the hard-hitting news that came out of this survey / journalistic take on where the American consumer stands in their spending. They also talked about things like CEO turnover. Again, we got scoop. We talked about that last week. Yeah. And they were talking about how going into the holidays, it's really the weakest retailers and indebted retailers that their business could continue to shrink.
Right.
So if you're not focused on profitability, you're not focused on your business structure and brand. I guess my question is, if anyone was waiting for this information or a McKinsey survey to shift their strategy, they probably shouldn't be in business in the first place, right?
Yeah, I think they missed the memo, and ultimately, that train has already left the station. And so at this point, holiday shopping starts in October. You are in September. So apparently you needed to have your inventory. Amazon made an announcement. You need to have your inventory and FBA for the holiday season in August. And they told everyone that in August. So they're on the same McKinsey timing train.
Yeah. I mean, that was just so they didn't flood their warehouses, right? It was like, you got what you got at this point. So you're hosed.
I think in this case, for retailers, the light at the end of the tunnel could be an oncoming train.
Oh man. Yeah. Speaking of rough o'clock. Yes. Yeah. And Miles, I appreciate that perspective on the UK. I think this is a global trend at this point, right? Yeah. Where things are difficult. I just find it interesting that we're here in the middle of the year, and not the headline, but the kickoff was the wild spending spree has stopped, because you could see this coming from a mile away with the trillions of debt in credit cards, the buy now, pay later, which we've talked about, you can't track, going up, inflation pressure. It's going to be an interesting ride going into the holidays.
For sure. And Europe and the UK are a couple of rate cuts ahead of the United States right now. And so it'll be interesting to see when that happens in the US. Does it affect the consumer at all? Ultimately, I don't think it's going to affect too much. It just means that your credit card debt, which is the highest in the last like 10 years,
Yeah.
won't quite be going up
As
as
much?
high as much as before, which doesn't necessarily mean you're opening your pocketbook.
No, no. I think
Doesn't make
we'll
your
we'll
childcare go up, go down, does it, Jess?
it doesn't make my groceries more affordable, but
Right.
here we are.
Yeah.
Speaking of new opportunities though, and
Oh,
new
wow.
ways to get consumers, I think you've got a little teaser for us here.
Yeah, I'm excited about the next story, which is Shopify has partnered with Roblox to sell physical goods into the Roblox platform. And we have a couple of things to talk about here. For those who don't know, in the last week, Roblox has had a developer conference where they announced a whole bunch of new capabilities. Essentially, if you're a creator on Roblox, there are creators that make hundreds of thousands and millions. Like Roblox pays out millions of dollars a year to creatives that build in-game content that then other people use. Well, of course, they sell a lot of virtual things. You can make like a
Right.
virtual hairstyle, which is cooler than mine, virtual hairstyle that's cooler than yours, or a virtual
Jacket,
shirt or jacket,
clothing, yeah.
all virtual in
Accessories.
the game.
Yeah.
However, Roblox is pushing past that onto physical commerce, and they're creating APIs and integrations to essentially any e-commerce platform out there. Shopify being kind of wanting to get ahead of the game. They were the first to announce that they're partnering with Roblox. This integration is going to roll out the beginning of 2025. And I think they've announced some pilots. I'm sure they're testing the APIs right now,
Yep.
but it seemed like the platform is actually going to open up that time. So if you want to have a virtual pizza and then get a real pizza ordered, if that pizza delivery is on Shopify, you would be able to do that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to there is certainly massive the Roblox community is massive. You have 80 million daily active users. Uh they take a 70% commission though on those virtual. Do you think they're going to have to change their commission structure to make this work?
Yes. Yeah, that's a rough o'clock commission,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. I mean, so they haven't talked about what that structure is going to look like. And then my question for you was, look, like lots of companies have tried to tackle this, like, Twitch and others, in-app or in-game experience in commerce and buying something that's not related to this virtual environment. Do you think Roblox has what it takes to make this materialize? Because it's not worked yet.
Yeah, look, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we were in the Web3 era. Everything was
Right.
going virtual, and we're gonna be living in the metaverse. Fast forward to the wah. Here's the challenge. None of it worked. But the reality is your kids are still spending a lot of money on Roblox.
Yes.
And I would say over 50% of people spending money are below like 16, 18 years old.
Right.
And so as part of that, Shopify has released a video, and I think you're really going to like it.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're going to pull it up. And in it, you may not recognize him for the, I'm going to get Vinny to pull it up. It's actually the president of Shopify talking about the Roblox partnership.
Hey friends, Harley here from Shopify. But where am I? Well, I'm excited to tell you it is official. Shopify is the first platform commerce partner for Roblox. Soon, we'll be piloting
how he's
Shopify
winking at me.
Roblox with a larger launch happening in early 2025. This
They
means that
nailed the
developers
backwards hat too.
and brands
Awesome.
who are
Yeah,
on
this is
Shopify
great.
can sell directly.
All right, thank you, Harley. That's enough. But there's a couple things I like that. First of all, Lego Harley. I mean, got to give him props for that. But second, and more importantly, backward hat Lego Harley. That's really where he takes it over the top.
Yeah, we hit next level there. I mean, I do wonder if he just watches this on repeat because it's pretty solid. So
Exactly.
we'll have more, I guess, to unpack on if this does or does not work.
Yeah.
And I think we've got one last story here, and we're going to close this out. And
If you
we'll
have
be quick
Temu on
about
your
it.
bingo card 25 minutes in, here we are.
Yes, here we are. And we really can't ignore this story because 2 years after the launch of Temu, it has overtaken eBay to become the world's second most visited e-commerce site. It's the
We're
only
number
e-commerce.
two.
We
We're number
number
two.
2. We own you, basically, is what they're
Right.
saying. They're the only e-commerce company in the top 20 most visited list to launch in the past decade. And this is just kind of sharing the stage of how, or setting the scene for how fast they are growing. And ignoring Coupang from South Korea, it's the only top e-commerce website to launch in the past 2 decades. So it is pretty amazing. If you look at the other incumbents that are in this list, it's status quo. Like the top haven't really changed. Of course, you see Amazon in there and others.
Yeah.
But who just missed it? Our friends at Shein.
Didn't make the list. Where eBay?
I mean, they're in there. They're just.
They used to be the number 2.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the trick of this list. And I think that's the part of this story I think that's interesting to discuss is like, where does eBay go from here? Did they go from 2 to 3 or did they hold their own? And is Temu going to keep rising? There are a lot of people predicting like, oh, they're just buying share. They're going to die anyway. I've recently bought something on Temu for the first time. I'm going to reveal it at a Shopware event upcoming. So we'll talk about that next week.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah. So yeah, the rankings, it's Amazon, Temu, eBay, AliExpress, then Amazon Japan, then Rakuten. So yeah, I mean, it is pretty interesting to like see those dynamics play out. We talked about eBay's place in this world last week. No need to belabor that, because they're also losing collectibles too to Walmart. So here we go. I think that it's pretty clear. They are, dominating the landscape, and it's a can't stop, won't stop until quality control steps in.
Yeah, exactly. Till compliance and marketing maybe get shown the door or something. But all these companies are trying to get US brands to go on the site. So mostly to try and sidestep regulation. Look, it's Americans on here selling to Americans. It's not.
That's right.
Sweatshops.
No, we beefed up our seller community.
Yeah. Minimal lead.
Minimal lead. Minimal last.
Last.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you guys for bearing with us. We know it was a little longer on the headline hangover, but there were some juicy stories to dive into. And I think we're going to keep this train rolling with the saga at another grift type company, Bolt.
Grift. You can't spell grift without BOLT. But anyway, there is a number of things that are happening recently, which is a doozy. The company is reported to be raising $450 million at if you're raising $450 million and you have revenues of reported revenues. I've not seen the paperwork. Reported revenues of $28 million. Just a wild guess of what do you think that company is worth, Jess?
Reported revenue of $28 million.
Yes. In your wildest stretch, what would you value a company for $28 million in revenue, even in the good times?
Even in the good times? I mean, at this point, we're not trading off revenue, we're trading off EBITDA, but like best case, they're getting like a 200, 150.
200 million. Try 14 billion on for size. That is the projected valuation of this company, or 1,000 times profits. Ooh. So I don't know, $7 million in profit this is a terrible business. But let's rewind the clock a little bit and talk about, this is a Series F round. The founder started Bolt. As you remember, like Shopify and others said, no, you will not pass. No more alternative checkouts on our platform. No soup for you.
No soup for you. You have chose poorly.
And so the founder was, forced out or left or wanted to do some other things because once you're a multi-billion-dollar unicorn, like you're riding out high. Like you can
Yeah.
take investors' money and go.
You
And
take that
so,
gravy train
there was
and you go to Italy.
yeah. So they hired a new CEO, Maju, who spent some time at Amazon. It's like pretty widely respected, very widely respected executive. Brought in some other friends of ours that have come into the company, and they gone now. And mostly they gone because the founder has decided to come back. And that's part of this funding round. Is the way to look at this is Bolt is a Series F. So it's only $28 million. If there's more letters and more like numbers in your revenue and profitability, first of all, that's a problem.
Yes.
And so the founder's going to come back. Founders demanded like $2 million in salary, like $1 million bonus just to come back. To do what? To build a super app.
Save the day.
To save the day. And so famously, the last CEO, I think Vinny has an image that he could show like when the founder came back, the previous CEO, he gone. So Maju is a good friend of the show. He one click checked out from Bolt. And so he gone. He's working on a new startup now. He might
I did appreciate this.
Yeah,
I did appreciate this.
This was one of the best LinkedIn posts this year. So congrats, golf clap to you, Maju.
Yes.
Ex-CEO Bolt. You might want to bury that. You might want to take some lessons from Dave Clark and Flexport and like just scrub it from your
You were a consultant there.
Yeah. You were a consultant to Bolt. You weren't the CEO. Just some advice from your friends at the Watson Weekend.
Yeah. So I think it's also interesting. There is something about the London fund and kind of break it down like all the dynamics that are happening with these like investors and the fund. And there was something a little sketch about that situation because I'm
so the
trying to
company
play catch up with this story.
Yeah, the company was going to raise $450 million, but it's not all in cash. $250 million of the funding was marketing credits.
Oh, okay. All right.
And the marketing credits were to influencers who are apparently going to promote the company. Influencers, none of which you've ever heard of.
Oh, cool.
But trust us, they're worth $250 million.
That makes sense. Because normally I get my checkout advice from influencers when I'm a tech company.
Right.
Trying to figure out what technology or a retailer.
Exactly. Look, unless it's Taylor Swift, your influencer purchase is not worth $250 million.
No, wrong. Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's part of the challenge. How much money they're paying Breslow, or the CEO who's coming back, is part of the challenge. And if you look at, there are a certain breed of founder that seem to really, it's almost like they're hunting investors. Usually you have founders that are like trying to pitch the company, like attract investors. They're like hunting investors, like trying to find the biggest sucker. This investor who's coming in, he said Bolt was bigger than Stripe.
What blind balance sheet, market data, et cetera, is he using?
Yeah, they just use the fact that there were millions of people who have been through Bolt's checkout, and they're Bolt's customers. And so as a result, they have more names than even Stripe.
Interesting. Well, some of their biggest clients have also sued them, right? Like Fanatics, they're in lawsuits with Fanatics. They're in lawsuits with the parent company of Forever 21.
Authentic Brands Groups.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's also a nice little cherry on top of, this terrible.
I remember when the last CEO was there, Maju, who we talked about, who left, they signed Fanatics. And I was like, for like a month, I'm like, there could be something here. Like Fanatics is a serious company.
It's legit. Yeah.
And you go to Fanatics website right now and you go through their checkout, and what do you see at the top? PayPal.
She back.
She back.
They are friends again.
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean, where do we go from here? Because there's also BlackRock, can you walk through the situation with BlackRock? Because they're trying to block this whole thing essentially by filing a restraining order, is what I heard. I didn't know you'd file a restraining order
Yeah.
in
Look,
this
they're
kind of
trying to
scenario.
file a restraining order in Delaware, and there's supposed to be a settlement between the CEO, the investor, to get shares back into the company. It doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like they're trying to get the company back on track. If this funding deal ever closes, there's going to be so many more lawsuits
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
for this company. They're going to pile up to the sky. Yeah, it's more likely that there are cats being eaten in Springfield that this funding deal is going to sign.
So if I guess the question I really want to ask you is, do you think there's anything salvageable in the technology? Is there sound technology here, or is this a closed shop moment and there's nothing even worth saving?
Um, Look, there is an identity network behind the scenes. Like as consumers check out, the play
Yeah.
was you go through guest checkout, you recognize you've checked out with a Bolt merchant before, and we can streamline your checkout and make it one click. The problem with that little thing is two companies, Shopify and PayPal. They're doing the same thing, and
Right.
they have much more resources and leverage. So the reality is they really have no moat. Perhaps one of the platforms could acquire the remnants of Bolt in a Thrasio-like situation, like we just talked about before. You know, if you have $1 and you used to acquire something that used to be worth $14 billion, it sounds like you got a good deal, except when you realize that $1 is going to lose a lot of money every year.
Yeah. And I get you would never want to call it Bolt because at this point, uh, we actually had some new ideas for what Bolt could stand for. Can I throw a few out for you?
Yeah, I would love to hear them.
Okay. Tell me which ones you like the best. We've got bloated, overvalued, laughable technology.
Ooh.
Basically overhyped, lacking traction.
Hmm.
Bragging, often losing time. Big on lies, tiny on deliverables. Any of
Ooh.
those hitting?
I like big on lies, tiny on deliverables.
I thought you
Yeah.
would. That's why I
Yeah.
ended there. So,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah. So, if you guys would buy Bolt, well, A, question, would you? And B, what would you rename it? We'd love to hear.
Yes. Yeah. In this case, I think the final word on Bolt should go to Mr. Kaplan, which is past is prologue, unfortunately, with the performance of Bolt. And so the behavior of the investors, integrity matters in this business. And I think we seem to, unfortunately, have to learn this message over and over in technology. So you have to kind of go back to WeWork to find someone who has hunted investors at this level. Adam Newman famously, I mean, I saw the documentary. We were talking about it before on Hulu. Like he went and found Masayoshi-san,
Yeah.
like figured out where he liked to go, what he liked to
Mm-hmm.
do, and all these things. And so, he got a lot of money for WeWork, which ended up
Yeah.
going in the toilet as well. But they have nice facilities. I like WeWork.
Yeah, they are very nice facilities. And maybe those two guys could team up and build something new together.
Yes. Yeah. Bolt and WeWork. Bolt work.
Work bolt.
We
Work
bolt.
bolt. We bolt. I'm feeling some Jason Murray, Marty Armstrong coming in here.
I get it. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're being funneled here.
I'm being funneled. It's so great. Well, this story absolutely, it's like our friends at Thrasio, will be the gift that keeps on giving. Any lessons learned for you through this?
Yeah, I mean, I think work with people who have integrity. I didn't think this was going to be the bankruptcy edition on Friday the 13th. She's like, did we plan that out this way, Jess?
Oh my God, but that's pretty genius, actually. Look at Vinny bringing it home.
I know. He
Crushing it.
tricks us into all these stories.
He
Like
really
we actually
does.
don't have any idea of what we're going to talk about until we just get up here.
And here we go. So, yeah, well, really appreciate you guys hanging with us for this Friday 13th edition. Go do your seances or whatever you need to do to shed the Friday 13th blues. Me, I'm going to grab another coffee and some nasal spray. So we'll kick it.
Yeah, we won't do it. We won't do an Irish goodbye on you guys. We will take it into a dance party. I also noticed that like every time there's a Friday the 13th movie, the killer is like hanging around like this Irish bog too. So there could be
Okay.
another Irish connection there.
There we go. The trifecta just keeps going.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging with us. Thanks again to our partners at Maze, and you guys have a great weekend.
See you later.
Get your dancing shoes on.
I got it.